You, my friend, might be thinking that getting objections at the end of your calls is completely normal. And while it might be for the average sales rep, if I were to show you the thousands of sales calls that I've taken over the last few years, you will notice that almost every single one of them were objectionless closes. Now you might be asking, how the hell was I able to do that? One of the simplest ways to do it is reframes. Now, what are reframes and what do they do? It's in the word. Reframes is rewiring someone's way of thinking. Your prospects come on your sales call with a certain belief system, a certain mindset, which if it was the right way of thinking, they wouldn't be on the call with you in the first place. So you knowing that as a closer, your job now is to reframe, like change the way they think and change the way they operate. That is one of the most effective ways you can sell a multi-4-figure, if not 5-figure program within an hour of speaking to them, is by changing the way they think and act. That is what reframes do. Now, if you don't use them, what's likely to happen is you will get plenty of objections at the end of your calls, or your prospects will just hang up on you. The biggest reason that happens is because you don't change your prospect's way of thinking, and they leave the call with the same belief system and mindset that they got into the call with. And so in this video, I'm going to be going over my 5 favorite reframes that I've used on my sales calls that's helped me get more objectionless closes, more paid in fulls and payment plans, and most importantly, not having to deal with the hassle of handling objections for an entire hour, because if you had the option to not do that, who the fuck wouldn't? Now, how should you know if you should use a reframe on your call? This is the part where you have to listen. If your prospect says something to you that doesn't make sense in your mind, that you disagree with, it is the incorrect mindset that will not help them get to their goals. It is your job to challenge them and change the way they think so that they can close by the end of the call. And thank you at the end for changing their mindset. Okay, so the first reframe is about time. When this will come up is when you will challenge your prospects on why they haven't been taking enough action. A lot of the times your prospect will end up saying, well, I just didn't have the time, I was very busy, I had this going on in my life, but now I have time, so now I'm able to take action. You as a closer cannot accept that answer, because if we don't reframe what they said just now, at the end of the call they're going to say, well, I don't have enough time to move forward, so I'm going to do it when I have more time. So here's how we make sure that doesn't come up. Now mind you, there's a million ways you can handle this. Let me show you the first thing that comes to my mind. So Mr. Prospect, what's the reason you haven't taken enough action over the last 2 years? Well, to be honest with you, I just didn't have enough time. I was super busy working 2 jobs and having a family to provide for. I just didn't have the time to do anything. Can I offer you a different perspective on that? Now, I can appreciate that you've been busy, and I can imagine providing for a family and being a father is a full-time job in and of itself. The way I see it, though, is we all have the same 24 hours in a day. For example, Elon Musk, he's the richest man in the world. He has more kids than I could count on my fingers. And let's not forget, he runs multiple companies worth trillions of dollars. Now, obviously, you guys are busy in different ways, but what do you feel is the difference between Elon Musk and you, considering you guys have the same 24 hours? Well, I guess nothing. I guess you really just took action and I didn't. Right, because it's not about us not having the time, it's about us not making or not prioritizing the time. Is that fair to say? Yeah, I guess that makes sense the way you put it. Okay, so aside from the time, what do you feel like is the actual reason you haven't been taking enough action? Boom, so now the prospect can tell us the real reason, which is most likely going to be fear. And now what they can tell us at the end of the call is, I don't have time to commit for this, so let's do it later. Now, another reframe that I've seen myself use on a lot of my calls is the wife or the partner reframe. I will use this when the prospect is telling me the reason they haven't taken action is because their wife is busy taking care of the kids and they're busy working, or their wife told them to do something more safe and stable, or their wife said this to them, which is the reason they haven't taken action and they're trying to validate why they haven't. So what we're not going to do is accept that, because the only person responsible for taking action or not taking action is the prospect, the person that's on the call with you. If they're going to put responsibility on their wife in the beginning, guess what's going to happen at the end? It's going to look a lot like, hey, thanks for everything we went over. It all sounds great. I'm just going to go ahead and speak to my wife before I make a decision. And then this is going to be you. Fuck! So here's how to ensure this does not come up at the end of your calls. Our goal is to have the prospect take full responsibility for the action that they took or the lack of action that they didn't take. Here's one example of what that would look like. So Mr. Prospect, what do you feel like has held you back from taking action over the last 6 months? Well, I'll be honest, my wife has been seeing a lot of these opportunities and she told me it's probably not a good idea that I should do it, and perhaps I should stick to the 9 to 5 because that's something that I already know. All right, is it okay if I challenge you on that? Sure, go ahead. I can imagine your wife had a bad experience with a different company and I'm sure it left its sour taste in her mouth. But when we look at becoming the provider and becoming somebody that your family can depend on and becoming someone that your family can say, this is a leader that I can follow, whose responsibility is that? Well, I guess that would be mine. Because at the end of the day, the reason why we're on this call is simply because you haven't been providing enough for your family. Is that fair to say? I mean, yeah, I try. We can all try, but when it comes to the financial side of this, which is why you're here, it's just not enough for you and your family, is it? No, it's not enough. Because how would you feel if you let another 3 years go on and you were in the same exact position and you tell me that your wife is the reason you haven't gotten there? Well, I definitely wouldn't be happy with that outcome. Why wouldn't you? Well, because it's my responsibility and it's not fair for me to put that on her because she works hard as well. Right, because it would be silly to say that somebody else was responsible for that decision and you didn't have any control of it, when we know that's not the case. Like, for example, you got into a very prestigious medical school. You mentioned to me earlier that not all your friends made it into that same school. Did you reject your acceptance letter because it didn't work out for some of your other friends? No, of course I didn't. That would be a complete joke. So in the same sense, did you not take action because your wife had bad experiences or told you not to? Or did you not take action because you decided to not move forward and put yourself in an uncomfortable position? Yeah, you're right. To be honest with you, it was completely me. My wife is irrelevant. I didn't take action because I chose not to. Boom, so that is just one reframe I would use for a wife or partner objection. This way, when you get to the end of your call, it would seem silly for your prospect to even tell you, I need to talk to my wife or I need to talk to somebody else before I do this, because you got them to the position where they're able to take full responsibility. That is what you want. Okay, now this is one of my favorite ones, scam. I'm sure all you guys have faced this before. Your prospects have told you, well, I see a lot of these scams online, I see these ads online, some of them just feel scammy. I've talked to 5 different people already, they all seemed like a scam to me. Great, I got them many times on my calls. I also lost a lot of deals on my calls because I didn't know how to pre-handle this and use the proper reframes. So here's what you need to do on a fucking silver platter. Please use this on your next call. First, I want to get clarity what scam means. I want to help the prospect realize that not everything is a scam. What they're trying to do is push responsibility onto a program or an ad they saw and not take responsibility for their lack of actions. So let's help them do a complete 180 with this reframe. So Mr. Prospect, what do you feel like has prevented you from taking action over these last several years? Well, I see these ads all the time and a lot of them just look like scams. My friend has done a program before, he told me he got scammed, and I just wanted to make sure that this isn't going to be another one of them. Okay, and when you say scam, what exactly do you mean by that? Well, you know, some people just want to sell you something and take your money. Do you mean it's a scam by somebody selling you something that they didn't deliver what they told you they would? Or you mean it's a scam because somebody is selling you something? Well, both, I guess. Okay, I mean, you do graphic design, right? Yeah. Well, I'm sure you give away your services for free, don't you? Why would I do that? I charge for my services. Okay, well, that wouldn't really make you a scam, would it? No? Okay, I get what you're saying. Now, you've mentioned you've seen these other guys online that are also scams. What do you mean by that? Well, yeah, a lot of these guys tell you that they're gonna sell you something that isn't what it really is. Oh, okay, gotcha. Have you invested in one of these programs before? Well, no, I just kind of saw the ads and I got on a call with them. That's really it. Ah, okay, so you didn't actually invest in the program and actually get to see what it's really like on the inside? No, I haven't. Okay, so how would you call something a scam without you actually seeing it and actually going through with it? Like, did they end up taking your money and running away with it? No, I just kind of looked into them and I figured it was a scam. I mean, how silly would it be if every girl that thought you were attractive thought you were a cheater before they even got to know you? Yeah, I mean, I guess that would be stupid. I don't think that would be fair for me. See where I'm going with this? Yeah, you're right. Forget I said that. Boom, so that is one way I would handle it. All you're doing is you're holding up a mirror to the prospect's face. You are helping them sound like an idiot by saying what they're saying. And only if they realize that what they're saying is no longer true, it is a false way of thinking, and it's not gonna help them get to their goals, you now have a lot more leverage to challenge them on whatever else bullshit they say in the call, which is gonna prevent them from saying, I need to look into you guys more because I've been scammed before, or I see other people getting scammed. We don't want that happening, do we? I hope that if you're watching this, you don't. So that is a scam reframe. Okay, now this one, I know you guys lost tens of thousands of dollars in commissions because you didn't know how to pre-handle risk. How can this show up on your calls? Well, your prospects can say something along the lines of, well, I haven't taken action because it was too big of a risk. I haven't taken action because I'm not sure if it would work out. I haven't taken action because I've seen a lot of people fail in this. I haven't taken action because I wanted to weigh out the pros and cons. Now, what is consistent with all of those phrases? All of those phrases is the fear objection disguised as a bunch of other bullshit phrases. So if we don't want our prospects telling us this at the end of the call, what we need to do is reframe it now and pre-handle it. Here's how I would do it. Step 1, get clarity on what they mean by risk. Risk could mean a million different things to a million different people. Once they explain to you what that actually means, you then want to help them realize that them investing in a program is way less risky than them not investing and staying in the same spot. And then the last thing you need to do is you can go back to a certain time where they did take a risk, it paid off for them, and it got them closer to where they wanted to be. Because at the end of the day, risks is where we really grow. Risks is what gets successful people to success. Nobody becomes successful by being risk averse. So here's one way on how I'd handle this. So Mr. Prospect, you mentioned that you haven't been taking action because of the risk. What exactly did you mean by that? Well, I'm used to working a 9-to-5 job where I have a guaranteed paycheck every 2 weeks, and starting a business, well, there's no guarantee I'll see any results. That is pretty risky. Yeah, totally. Now, what's the reason you wanted to start a business in the first place? Well, I've come to realize I'm not really happy with my 9-to-5 and I don't have the freedom that I would like to have. Okay, how long have you been feeling that way for? Well, I've been in corporate for 10 years now. I've been feeling this way for about 5 years. Well, that's a long time, man. What if you let that go on for another 5 years? Well, I would definitely not be happy with myself and I'd be a lot more frustrated and have a lot more regret because I'm still in the same spot, okay? So just because you'll take a risk to start a business, does that mean it's not gonna work? Well, no, but like, what if it does fail? Well, what if it doesn't? Have you seen people take risks and find success by taking risks? Yeah, all the time. I mean, I've taken a risk applying to law school. I wasn't sure I was gonna get in. Okay, well, why'd you apply anyways? Well, because I knew that if I didn't apply and take the risk, I would always wonder like what could have been had I not applied and just settled for some below average job. Okay, now the fact that you did get in, what did that prove to you about taking a risk and putting yourself out there? Well, it showed me that if I want to achieve a certain level, there's only one way to do that, which is taking that unknown step. Great, so that's how business is as well. What's consistent with every single business is that there's no guarantee any of them will succeed. For all you know, they could all fail. But the reason why a lot of business owners are able to achieve that financial freedom is because they put themselves in positions to get there, which is making decisions that are not guaranteed to work out for themselves. Would you be where you are today had you not taken any risks? No, I wouldn't. So what makes this any different? Well, I guess you're right. I guess it's not different. Boom. So now taking a risk in their mind is no longer a bad thing. It's actually a good thing because you showed them data that when they took a risk in the past, it paid off for them. It got them closer to where they wanted to be. They've seen other people take risks and go far places in life. And you've also helped them realize that by staying in the same spot and always wondering what could have been is actually more risky than doing something about it. So in your own words, try this reframe on your next sales call. Let me know how it goes. Okay, last but not least, research. This can show up on your calls in these different phrases. Well, I have been taking action. I've been doing research. What do you mean? Yeah, I've been looking into some YouTube videos. I've seen some ads, been doing some due diligence. Yeah, I've looked at a few different programs. I've gotten on a few different calls. Just kind of testing out what's right for me, what's good, what's bad. Okay, great. So what we're not going to do is accept all those answers. Because if we do, what's going to happen at the end is, Itai, thanks for the call. You taught me a lot of great things. I love what you guys do. I'm just going to go ahead and do some research, do some due diligence, and then I'll get back to you. Sounds good? And then you look like a deer in the headlights because you don't know how to handle it, and you definitely didn't do a good enough job pre-handling it. So let's fix that. In order for our prospects to not tell us, I need to do more research, here's what I want you to do. Number one, in the prospect's mind, doing research is the right thing. They feel that doing research will help them build more certainty to make a decision. In your mind, though, that is the complete opposite. Doing research prohibits the prospect from making a decision. It holds them back from taking action. It just crowds their mind with more information. It just makes them more confused to make a decision. And even worse, nothing's going to change until they change. So here's how I've pre-handled this on my sales calls. Here's one way it could look. So, Mr. Prospect, you mentioned you've been doing research for the last 3 years now. What kind of research have you been doing? Well, I've looked at all these YouTube videos, I've gone on some calls, I've searched up on ChatGPT, what's the best way to make money? Okay, and what outcome did you get with that? Well, nothing really tangible yet, but I have a lot of ideas and I've been brainstorming a lot and I feel a lot more confident. Now, Mr. Prospect, just based on someone who's done a lot of these calls and has talked to a lot of different people, can I offer you a shared perspective? Yeah, sure. When you say the research that you've done hasn't gotten you any real outcome, but you feel a lot more confident now, has it gotten you to the point where you were making 20K a month, which is the goal that we talked about? Well, no, it hasn't, but I'm about to start getting there. Do you feel like it takes 3 years to do research to then build confidence to do something? Well, I'm sure I could have done it in less time, but I'm happy that I did that research. Well, do you know why research can be so dangerous? Why is that? Well, people do research thinking that it'll get them closer to the goal, that it'll give them more certainty to take action. In reality, people do research to delay taking action, and people delay taking action because they want to delay failure. You've also mentioned you've looked at all these different programs because of the research that you've done, but you can't make up your mind which one is the right or the wrong one for you. What does that tell you about research? Well, yeah, I mean, I know all these programs now, but like you said, it's a lot more confusing for me to make a decision. Do you feel like that if you just looked at one program and stuck with it and took action with it and went all the way with it, that we would not be having this conversation right now? Yeah, I guess there's a possibility I might have already started something with it. So what does that tell you about research? Yeah, I mean, it can help you, but I get what you're saying. It could also keep you stuck. Right, because it makes you feel like you're getting much closer to the goal, but in reality, you're just in motion, right where you were 3 years ago. And now you have all this information, but you haven't implemented any of it. It's like information without implementation is meaningless. Agreed? Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And I can see what you're saying. I've really been delaying it because you're right, I don't want to make the wrong move. Okay, great, so now we can have that conversation. Boom, now we could pre-handle the real objection, which is gonna be fear, and we're also preventing the prospect from saying, thanks for the great conversation, I just need to do some research and look into you guys before I take a step. Okay, now if you found this helpful, you might be asking yourself now, well, Itai, this sounded great, this sounds really cool in theory, but how do I actually implement this on my next sales call? How do I really put it into practice to make sure it works? Well, my good friend, I actually have a live sales call where I break down these exact analogies in real time and I close a 9K deal. Yes, paid in full. It is one of my favorite calls up until this day. I've taken thousands of sales calls and this is one of my favorite ones so far. This is where I completely disarm the prospect, I dismantle their objections, I dismantle their limiting beliefs, I made them cry 2 times. Not only did the prospect pay in full, but she also thanked me multiple times at the end for helping her get out of her own way. That just shows you you're not using these reframes to do something to someone, you're doing this for someone because you're trying to help them, and if you don't use those reframes, you're actually not helping the prospect, and you are doing a disservice to them. So if you want to see me implement this in real time on a live sales call, click this video right here, it'll take you straight to the video.